Well, all right, y'all. All across the USC, Compton, Watts, Bay to LA, Pomona, California, from valley to valley, we represent that killer Cali. So if you keeping it real on your side of your town, you tune in to Gangsta Chronicles.
Gangsta Chronicles, we gon' tell you how it goes.
If I lie, my nose will grow like Pinocchio. We gon' tell you the truth and nothing but the truth.
Gangsta Chronicles, this is not your average show.
You're now tuned into the real MC8, Big James, and Big Steel.
This is strictly from the streets.
Hello.
We represent the James.
We'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of the Gangsta Chronicles podcast, and I'm with my homeboys, of course.
Big J.
Jim. And man, you know, I wanted to talk about, man, mental health in the black community. It's a lot of stuff going on. You have a lot of people losing jobs right now. A lot of people not being able to really go out and earn their keep because of all these restrictions. And I know in places like the South and everything else, everything is pretty much opened up and everything, but some people still have to be cautious. And we got a lot of businesses and stuff that's closing down, and it's kind of like a stigma in our communities to talk about mental health. Because if you tell a motherfucker you're going to go see a psychiatrist, they look at you like you crazy or something.
I would too.
Why do you say that?
Keep it 100. I had a psychiatrist in the 3rd grade. Motherfucker didn't teach me nothing, didn't tell me nothing, and couldn't change my mind about nothing. I think it was a waste of money. You know, I'm like this, and keeping it 100. And I ain't prejudiced, but can't nobody that don't know me, especially a white man, get inside of my head and tell me who the fuck I am. And you just met me that day, and then you gonna diagnose me that fast. You don't know me like that. Even as a child. So I didn't bite into that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Draw this square, trace this circle, and they sit in the room and watch you do it. I put every motherfucking thing on the table, triangle, and I took the pencil and I traced that shit and just sat there, done in 3 minutes, and was just sitting there.
I feel what you're saying, because you was 8 years old at the time you said, right?
Yep.
So I know as an 8-year-old, it may be hard to process how would that be of a help to me. You feel what I'm saying? But I do think sometimes people just need somebody to talk to, bro.
Maybe some people. It depends. And it depends on that person's situation. But my situation, I'm going back into the same motherfucking environment that I left when I came up here. You know what I'm saying? So after our session, I'm going back home. I still got to look at this monster that feel like he want to whoop my ass. I still got to go back to the neighborhood and figure out how I'm going to deal with these 5 little cats thinking since we the new kid on the block that they can fuck with me. Thinking, okay, I showed him if y'all fuck with that motherfucker, I ain't finna let him chase me with no butcher knives, shit like that. So, I mean, it just wouldn't work for me.
So you was chasing motherfuckers with butcher knives?
Well,
Yeah.
who, James, who came up with the suggestion to take you to a psychiatrist?
The school, Stephen C. Foster.
I figured that. So it wasn't mom or dad or auntie or cousin.
No.
It was somebody outside the family circle who decided, we need to send him to a psychiatrist.
Growing up, and the only thing you hear is, he bad as a motherfucker. And that's auntie's uncle.
We heard that.
Yeah. but this is the cold part, though.
Shit.
Growing up hearing that you bad. And not only from your family members, but people at the school, the kids at school, just everybody saying it. So I believe that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm growing into this shit. So fighting a teacher and busting her nose, and then chasing cats with butcher knives because you ain't finna fuck with me. His name was Mr. Perez at the time. And he said he need counseling. So the school had me go to Compton Unified Counseling. And I went to that shit, and apparently they figured that my conversation wasn't worth nothing and he gonna be what he is. They kicked me out of Compton Unified School District at 8 years old. I couldn't go to Compton schools. So I had to go to LA. And from LA, the shit continued, I would get kicked out of school every Wednesday. I don't know why it was a Wednesday, but it happened. And my pops wanted to send me to a military school, figuring that I can get help there. It never happened, so shit went on the way it did.
Now, do you think that had they paid more attention to you, because it sounded like more than anything else, you didn't need the whole square in a circle thing. You needed a motherfucker just to talk to you, because sometimes with little kids, when they acting out, it's kind of a cry for help.
Well, I thought at that time I was going to be able to tell my story of why I'm acting out like this. But I didn't get those, why do you act the way you act? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get that. They went around it. I don't know, to make money or to work that clock or whatever, but I didn't get that. I didn't get that. I never had a chance to talk to social workers, you know, and everything that I saw, it was like they beat it around the bush, like the doctors, you know, going to the hospital at that time, you know, here go a kid with 8 slashes here and 8 right here, and I'm getting stitches in my head, bleeding like a motherfucker. You wonder, this kid ain't got this off no dresser. You know what I'm saying? And I'm nervous and scared as a motherfucker. You know, you didn't get the help that you get today.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
it's
saying?
a whole different animal today, because my wife is actually in social work, and that's her thing. If a kid shows up to her classroom, a teacher report to her that this kid is coming in with welts on them, you know, black eyes and stuff, you can differentiate, the professors could differentiate between a boy just being rough and, you know, probably, you know, busting his head open or blacking his eye, between somebody abusing them, because what should have happened is they should have spoke to you and asked you, hey, James, why are you so angry?
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, what's going on?
Causing you to be
the only
so
thing
angry?
the doctor said, how did he get these? And I looked at him. It was the worstest motherfucking look ever. The look that he gave me, say something, I'll bust your motherfucking, like he looked at me like that. But if he wouldn't stand right there, I would have said that motherfucker right there hit me with some high heel shoes and whatever he could. And if he'd have went to jail, so be it.
See, because
didn't happen.
So, you know, the whole persona of you lashing out and everything like that, you know, you becoming the bully, so to speak, in the school, you know, chasing people, butcher knives, bombing on teachers and stuff, that's a defense mechanism.
Well, it's the trickle down effect, because, like you said, the household was already declaring, oh, it's a bad motherfucker right here, because of probably the abuse he was suffering at the hands of, you know, whatever, pops or whatever. That's just going to trickle down effect to the next motherfucker. I don't give a damn.
And we are always taught, man, as black men, to be quiet. Don't say nothing about what goes in your house, because if you think about the way we got our ass whooped back in the day, they would consider that abuse, because I tell my wife about some of the
we got
I
ass
used to
whooping.
get.
I used to, you know, especially if you got parents, you know, who come from that era, you know, back in the days, the rough life, the 40s, the slave shit, all that, the abusive shit. Man, I used to get whooped. You feel me? So me as a kid, my mom, you know, when I got in trouble or punishment, it wasn't looked at as abuse. I'm going to go outside and grab a switch off the tree and I'm going to whoop your ass.
Oh, yeah, them braided switches.
I would prefer a switch anytime, opposed to a stitching cord.
We got extension cords.
That razor. No, I'm talking about when you get an ass whooping with a stitching cord and it draw blood. I'm talking about over excessive bullshit.
Yeah, that's excessive.
Back then and today, you know, some people knew how far to go whooping their kids' ass. But back then, we got our ass whoopings. Maybe that's why we different from this generation. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't get their ass whooped like that. But I got the stitching cord, the high heel shoes, the fist. I had to fight him. You feel me? I had to fight my pops. You know what I'm saying? I had to grab onto the stitching cord and while this nigga got his foot on my chest. You know, just trying to hit me all different kind of ways. It didn't matter.
Yeah, that ain't
You
cool.
know what I'm saying?
That
So
ain't
I had
cool.
to hold on to whatever the fuck, because this ain't right.
Because I think we all had them to a certain extent, because I could never put that on my step-pops. My step-pops gave me his last name, so I know he loved me. He did, you know, the stuff. But like Ace said, he was a motherfucker that was older than my mom. He was from Mississippi. And he been working since he was 9 or 10, and that's how they just got down. You know what I mean? That's how they got down. There was no nonsense, no talking back, yes, sir, no, ma'am. You know, so if I violated that, I ain't gonna say he went as far as hitting me with stuff, but I'm serious. He whooped my ass one day with a fishing pole, dog, and it's like, it had welts on me, and I kind of put in my mind that I'm not taking no more ass whoopings like that, because I was around 15 at the time, and I started getting kind of huff. So one day he walked up them stairs to my room, because I kind of stayed in a little attic right in the 3rd floor. You know how the houses is in the Midwest. So he walking up there, and I see him with the rod in his hand. First thing I did is kind of pushed him back down the stairs, and next thing you know, he reaching for his pistol, because he looking at me like he was in shock, like this motherfucker is strong, now he ain't taking it. So at that point, it was time for me to go with my real dad for a minute, because you can't be in no other man's house and he's scared of you.
Exactly.
Because that pretty much would have happened. So I think just back in the day, man, what I see in our communities is this massive transference of pain. Somebody do something to me, I'm gonna go do this to this motherfucker now. Why should he be exempt from it? And especially the kids that I felt like wasn't going through the same shit that I was doing, because it's a subconscious thing, I believe.
Exactly.
We lash out and transfer that pain that we get into somebody else.
Well, I believe we have excuses. We use what we got going on in the house as an excuse to do what we do. You know what I'm saying? But my excuse was legit. I was taught to be who I am. I was told who I am, I have to be. I was taught that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have it no other way. I couldn't. How can you be soft and you going through shit like that? You know, picture getting an ass whooping and your wounds ain't even healed from the last one. That shit hurts when you get hit again.
Hell fucking is.
And at 15, oh no, I'm gonna have to kill this motherfucker right here.
Exactly. 15 is that limit. Man, I ain't taking no more shit at 50. Fuck that shit.
That was my time right there. And I think all of us, man, as black males, even our black women, we are taught to suppress everything. Don't cry. Because I had a stepdad to tell me, don't start acting like no little bitch and start crying.
Yeah, that was the motto.
You know what I'm saying? Don't start acting like a little bitch and start crying.
You couldn't have been no black dude from our era, a kid or a teenager or a young man, and show no motherfucking tears. That just doesn't happen. Now, you looked upon as a weak-ass motherfucker, then it don't matter what the situation is. You cannot cry.
Exactly, because what that does, when you suppressing stuff, see, stress is a motherfucker, because when you hold all that shit inside, you don't cry. You already taught, don't cry. You don't want to look like no punk. And you holding all this stuff in here.
It ain't stress, though.
The next is anger. It's anger, yeah, exactly. But check this out, though, James, because it's the same shit, right? All that shit builds up inside of you. And what happens when something builds up, it eventually bursts, right? So that's what happened. The next motherfucker you catch, he might have did something real petty, like bumped into you. Not on purpose, not paying attention, stepped on your shoes. Next thing you know, you over this dude whooping his ass because he catching all the trauma that you done been through. So it's a massive transference of pain. And so I really feel like the shit that you've done in your life, James, not making excuses, but you had legitimate pain. Like when I talk to you about some of the shit you've been through, bro, I'm like, man, that motherfucker should have been locked the fuck up. Right. Immediately. You know what I'm saying? You just don't do no kid like that. It's like, and I think it all ultimately made us better fathers, right?
Yeah. But in our days, shit, they really, I mean, unless a motherfucker, you ended up dead, buried in somebody, they didn't really fuck with it like that, especially in our neighborhoods and the kids and whatever. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, out of fear of, shit, I go home, a motherfucker gonna fuck me up worser. So who am I to tell? You get me? At that hour, I gotta go home. You feel me? Exactly. That's the fear of the shit.
Exactly, because I remember, man, before I got my grades together and stuff, football pretty much saved my life. But I remember report cards would come to the crib, right? And I would try to catch that report card before Pops picked it up or Mom's picked it up. You know, Mom's picked it up, it wasn't that bad, right?
Right.
But if Pops picked it up and if he saw a D on that motherfucker, I learned how to change them D's and the B's. You feel what I'm saying? And just manipulate the whole system, because it seemed like he just went extra hard on everything. But then me looking back as a grown-ass man now, I appreciate him a little bit more because he did put a lot of good qualities in me as a man, like as far as like a man is supposed to go to work and take care of his household. You ain't supposed to be living up off no woman. Because every day, one thing about that motherfucker, every day I saw his ass waking up at 3 in the morning, going to work, not coming back home at 6 o'clock and doing the same thing again. Eat, watch the news a little bit, whoop some ass in between all that if he had to, and do the same thing all over again 7 days a week.
Well, see, I didn't have that. I had a grandfather.
I didn't have that either, James. No. My father was out of the house. By the time I was gang banging and claiming and all that, my pops was in another state. He left. You know, my mom's practically raised me, my sister, and my younger brother on her own in the streets. Mm-hmm. So she had to be the disciplinary. Like I said, we got the whoopings, we got the punishments, but not to disrespect moms, but by the time, like you said, I was 15, I wasn't hearing shit. Right. My rebellion came out of not having a motherfucking father in the household. Mm-hmm. You know, I talked to my pops every now and then or whatever. You know, maybe went on a vacation to where, you know, down to Oklahoma or wherever he was staying or whatever, but I didn't have a father in the house. So my rebellion came from not and being able to, you get me, regulate with the niggas down the block and all that. That's because I didn't have no pops in the house.
Finally get a chance to let the